Have you ever noticed that the people who seem to attract the most attention are often the ones who appear least desperate to receive it? They don't beg to be noticed. They don't constantly explain themselves. They don't chase approval. Instead, they carry themselves with quiet confidence, allowing their actions to speak louder than their words. This is one of the most misunderstood principles of human psychology. Many people spend their lives believing that the more attention they give others, the more attention they will receive in return. They think that constantly texting first, always being available, explaining every decision, and seeking everyone's approval will make them more loved and respected. But human nature often works in the opposite direction. What is freely available is frequently taken for granted. What seems difficult to obtain naturally becomes more valuable. Most people believe attraction is created by effort. They assume that if they call more often, reply faster, give more compliments, or constantly prove their loyalty, they will become impossible to ignore. But human psychology rarely rewards desperation. In fact, the harder you chase attention, the less valuable your attention appears. This is because people naturally appreciate what is earned more than what is freely given. When someone knows they can have your time whenever they want, without investing anything in return, they begin to see it as ordinary rather than special. Attention loses its value when it has no boundaries. Think about the people who leave a lasting impression. They are not necessarily the loudest in the room, or the ones demanding recognition. They carry themselves with quiet confidence. They understand that their worth is not determined by how many people notice them, but by the quality of the life they are building. Instead of spending every waking moment trying to convince others to admire them, they invest that energy in developing themselves. They improve their knowledge, strengthen their discipline, and pursue meaningful goals. Ironically, this focus on self-development becomes the very reason others are drawn to them. Human beings are naturally curious. When everything about a person is immediately available, curiosity fades. If you constantly reveal your thoughts, explain every decision, and make yourself endlessly accessible, there is nothing left for others to discover. Mystery disappears. But when you are selective with your attention, and speak only when your words have purpose, people begin to wonder. They start paying closer attention because your presence is no longer predictable. This is not about playing manipulative games. It is about recognizing that your energy is valuable and should not be spent trying to satisfy everyone's expectations. One of the greatest mistakes people make is believing they must always be available. They answer every message within seconds, accept every invitation, and sacrifice their own priorities simply to avoid disappointing others. Over time, this behavior creates an unhealthy pattern. Instead of earning appreciation, they become expected to give more and more. Their kindness becomes invisible because it is seen as normal. Meanwhile, the individual who values their own time teaches others to value it as well. By protecting your schedule and respecting your own commitments, you silently communicate that your life has purpose beyond seeking approval. This principle extends beyond relationships. In the workplace, the employee who constantly seeks praise often appears insecure, while the one who quietly delivers consistent results earns lasting respect. In friendships, the person who always tries to entertain everyone may eventually feel exhausted because they rely on external validation. But the friend who remains genuine, dependable, and emotionally balanced often becomes the one everyone trusts. Attraction is not built on constant performance. It is built on authenticity and confidence. Another reason chasing attention fails is that it places your emotional well-being in someone else's hands. When your happiness depends on another person's response, You lose control over your own state of mind. A delayed reply ruins your mood. A forgotten compliment damages your confidence. A small disagreement feels like rejection. This emotional dependence weakens your sense of self. But when you learn to find fulfillment in your own growth, your confidence becomes independent of other people's opinions. You no longer need constant reassurance because your identity is rooted in your values rather than their approval. People often misunderstand confidence as arrogance. The two are completely different. Arrogance demands attention because it seeks superiority. Confidence remains quiet because it has nothing to prove. A confident person does not interrupt every conversation to be heard. They do not compete for every spotlight. They know that real influence comes from consistency, integrity, and calmness. Their actions speak long before their words do. This quiet strength naturally attracts respect because it reflects inner security rather than outward performance. Learning to stop chasing attention also changes the way you make decisions. Instead of asking, "Will people like me if I do this?" you begin asking, "Does this align with the person I want to become?" That single shift transforms your entire life. Your choices become guided by principles rather than popularity. You stop pretending to fit into environments that diminish your value. You become willing to walk away from one-sided relationships, unhealthy friendships, and situations where your effort is never appreciated. Every time you choose self-respect over approval, you strengthen your character. There is another psychological truth that many overlook. Scarcity increases value. This principle applies not only to material things but also to attention. When your attention is earned through trust, loyalty, and mutual respect, it carries far greater meaning than attention given freely to everyone. The goal is never to ignore people out of pride or to manipulate their emotions. The goal is to ensure that your kindness comes from strength rather than fear. Give your attention because someone deserves it, not because you are afraid of being forgotten. The most attractive people are rarely those who spend their lives asking to be noticed. They become attractive because they are deeply committed to something greater than external validation. They have dreams to pursue, skills to master, challenges to overcome, and a purpose that keeps them moving forward. Their ambition leaves little room for desperation. They recognize that attention is a byproduct of excellence, not its source. Instead of chasing admiration, they chase growth. And as they continue growing, admiration follows naturally, because people are always drawn to those who value themselves enough to let their actions speak louder than their need for approval. There is a reason silence has fascinated philosophers, leaders, and strategists throughout history. In a world where everyone is competing to be heard, the person who knows when not to speak often possesses the greatest influence. Silence is not emptiness. It is controlled presence. It is the ability to remain composed while others rush to explain themselves, defend every accusation, or seek constant validation. The less you feel compelled to prove your worth, the more others begin to question what gives you such confidence. That question is where attraction begins. Most people reveal too much too quickly. They explain every decision they make, share every emotion they experience, and react to every opinion directed toward them. While honesty is important, constant exposure leaves very little room for curiosity. Human beings are naturally drawn to what they do not completely understand. When every detail is immediately available, interest fades because there is nothing left to discover. Mystery is not about hiding who you are. It is about understanding that not every thought needs to be spoken, and not every emotion deserves an audience. Imagine meeting two different people. One spends the entire conversation talking about their achievements, their plans, and their opinions, leaving no space for curiosity. The other speaks thoughtfully, listens carefully, and shares only what truly matters. Long after the conversation ends, you are more likely to remember the second person. Their quiet confidence leaves questions unanswered. Your mind naturally fills in the gaps. This is one of the most powerful psychological principles. The mind is attracted to unfinished stories. When people cannot completely figure you out, they continue thinking about you long after you have left. Silence also demonstrates emotional maturity. Anyone can react in anger. Anyone can respond immediately to criticism. Anyone can argue endlessly to prove they are right. But remaining calm when emotions are high requires discipline. When someone insults you and you refuse to give them the reaction they expected, you quietly take away their power. Many people provoke others because they crave emotional control over them. The moment you refuse to participate in unnecessary conflict, you communicate that your peace is worth more than winning an argument. This does not mean suppressing your voice or allowing people to mistreat you. There is a time to speak firmly and a time to walk away. Wisdom lies in recognizing the difference. Every unnecessary explanation gives others another opportunity to challenge your decisions. Every emotional reaction provides information about your weaknesses. Strategic silence protects your energy because it prevents people from learning how to manipulate your emotions. People often believe attraction comes from impressing others with words. In reality, actions leave a much stronger impression than endless promises. Someone who constantly talks about becoming successful but never takes action loses credibility. Another person who quietly works every day without seeking attention eventually earns admiration because results speak louder than announcements. Confidence is visible without constant explanation. It can be seen in discipline, consistency, and composure. There is another reason mystery creates value. It encourages respect for personal boundaries. When you constantly reveal every part of your life, people begin to expect unlimited access to your thoughts, your time, and your emotions. They feel entitled to know everything. But when you maintain healthy boundaries, you teach others that access to your inner world is something earned through trust. This makes your relationships stronger because they are built on genuine connection rather than endless availability. Social media has made this lesson even more important. Many people feel pressure to document every achievement, every meal, every vacation, and every personal opinion. They believe constant visibility creates influence. Yet the individuals who quietly focus on meaningful work often create the greatest impact. They allow their accomplishments to introduce them instead of announcing every step of the journey. Their silence builds anticipation. When they finally speak, people pay attention because their words are not lost in endless noise. Mystery also protects you from unnecessary judgment. The more information people have, the more opportunities they have to misunderstand your intentions. Not everyone deserves complete access to your dreams or your plans. Some people offer encouragement, while others offer doubt disguised as advice. By keeping certain goals private until they are achieved, you protect your motivation from unnecessary negativity. This is not secrecy born from fear. It is discipline born from wisdom. Another powerful effect of silence is that it makes you a better observer. While others are busy speaking, you are gathering information. You notice body language, changes in tone, hidden emotions, and patterns in behavior. You begin understanding people beyond their words. This awareness allows you to make wiser decisions because you respond to reality rather than assumptions. The person who listens more than they speak often understands the room better than the person trying to dominate every conversation. True mystery is not created by pretending to be distant or cold. It comes from having a rich inner life that does not depend on constant external attention. It is built through purpose, discipline, and emotional balance. When your identity is rooted in your values instead of public approval, you stop feeling the need to explain yourself to everyone. You become comfortable allowing people to misunderstand you if the alternative requires sacrificing your peace. The people who leave the strongest impression are often those who know that every word carries weight. They do not speak to fill silence. They speak to create meaning. They understand that confidence does not demand attention, because genuine confidence already knows its value. When you master the art of silence, protect your boundaries, and allow your actions to speak louder than your explanations, you create a presence that cannot be forced or manufactured. It becomes natural, authentic, and unforgettable. One of the greatest illusions people live under is the belief that strength is measured by how forcefully they react. They believe that raising their voice proves confidence, that defending every criticism protects their reputation, and that winning every argument establishes their authority. Yet the opposite is often true. The individual who cannot control their emotions becomes easy to control by others. Every emotional outburst reveals a weakness. Every impulsive reaction exposes a vulnerability, and every desperate attempt to justify yourself places your peace in someone else's hands. Emotional control is not the absence of feeling. It is the mastery of feeling. Human beings are emotional creatures by nature. We all experience anger, disappointment, jealousy, fear, and frustration. These emotions are neither good nor bad. They simply exist. The difference between an ordinary person and a truly powerful one lies in what they do with those emotions. Most people react immediately. They send the angry message, argue with strangers, seek revenge after an insult, or allow a single negative comment to ruin their entire day. They believe they are expressing strength, but in reality, they are surrendering control. Their emotions are no longer serving them. They are controlling them. Consider how easily people can manipulate someone who reacts to everything. A simple insult can steal hours of their peace. A delayed text message can fill them with anxiety. A rumor can consume their thoughts. Someone else's opinion becomes the ruler of their emotional state. This is not freedom. It is emotional dependence. The more your mood depends on external events, the less control you truly possess over your own life. Power begins the moment you stop allowing other people to dictate your emotional responses. Imagine someone trying to provoke you into an argument. They expect anger. They expect frustration. They expect you to lose your composure. Instead, you remain calm. You smile politely, refuse to engage in unnecessary conflict, and continue with your day. In that moment, something remarkable happens. They lose the influence they hope to gain over you. Your calmness becomes stronger than their aggression because it cannot be manipulated. This principle has guided many successful leaders, entrepreneurs, and great decision-makers. They understand that important decisions should never be made in moments of emotional intensity. Anger clouds judgment. Fear creates hesitation. Excitement encourages reckless choices. A disciplined mind waits until emotions settle before deciding how to act. This pause, though often brief, separates wisdom from regret. Many people mistake emotional control for emotional suppression. They assume that remaining calm means pretending nothing hurts. That is not the case. Emotional control means acknowledging your feelings without becoming their servant. You can feel disappointment without becoming bitter. You can experience anger without becoming destructive. You can face rejection without allowing it to define your worth. Mature individuals experience emotions deeply, but they refuse to let those emotions make decisions on their behalf. Another reason emotional control is attractive is because it creates stability. In every relationship, people naturally feel safer around someone who remains steady during difficult moments. Imagine two individuals facing the same challenge. One panics, blames others, and reacts impulsively. The other remains thoughtful, listens carefully, and responds with patience. Which person would you trust? Which one would you follow? Calmness inspires confidence because it demonstrates inner security rather than emotional chaos. One of the greatest signs of maturity is learning that not every battle deserves your attention. Some arguments exist only to waste your energy. Some criticisms come from people who have no intention of understanding you. Some insults are simply invitations to lower yourself to another person's level. Responding to every challenge does not make you stronger. Choosing which battles deserve your time does. Every unnecessary conflict avoided is energy preserved for goals that truly matter. There is also immense freedom in no longer needing everyone to agree with you. Many people exhaust themselves trying to convince others that they are right. They explain, defend, argue, and seek validation, believing that acceptance will bring peace. But true peace comes from knowing your values so well that disagreement no longer threatens your identity. You can respect different opinions without feeling compelled to change every mind you encounter. Emotional control also strengthens self-confidence. When you know you can remain composed under pressure, you stop fearing difficult situations. Criticism no longer shakes your foundation because your confidence comes from character rather than compliments. Rejection becomes a lesson instead of a personal failure. Setbacks become opportunities to improve instead of excuses to quit. Every challenge becomes proof that your discipline is stronger than your emotions. This ability transforms every area of life. In business, calm people negotiate more effectively because they think clearly instead of emotionally. In friendships, they avoid unnecessary drama because they refuse to react impulsively. In relationships, they communicate with patience rather than anger. Even during personal failures, they recover more quickly because they focus on solutions instead of emotional chaos. Their strength is not measured by how loudly they respond, but by how consistently they remain grounded. Perhaps the greatest advantage of emotional control is that it protects your future. Every impulsive decision carries consequences that may last for years. A single angry message can destroy trust. One reckless decision can damage opportunities. One uncontrolled reaction can undo years of hard work. But the person who develops patience gives themselves the gift of perspective. They understand that temporary emotions should never determine permanent actions. Real power is invisible. It is not displayed through intimidation, endless arguments, or emotional displays. It is revealed in the quiet confidence of someone who refuses to be controlled by circumstances or by the opinions of others. When your emotions become your allies instead of your masters, you gain something few people ever achieve: the ability to remain steady in a world filled with distraction, pressure, and provocation. That inner stability becomes the foundation of genuine confidence, lasting respect, and a presence that others naturally admire. Respect cannot be demanded, purchased, or borrowed from someone else. It is earned through the way you carry yourself, the standards you refuse to compromise, and the discipline with which you live your life. Many people spend years trying to force others to value them. They seek approval, tolerate disrespect, and constantly adjust their personalities to fit into every room they enter. Yet the more they sacrifice their identity to gain acceptance, the less respect they receive. Human nature recognizes confidence long before it recognizes words. Self-respect is the silent foundation upon which all lasting respect is built. One of the greatest mistakes people make is believing that saying yes to everyone will make them more likable. They fear disappointing others, so they agree to requests they do not want to fulfill, remain in relationships that drain their energy, and stay silent when their values are challenged. At first, this behavior may appear kind, but over time it creates an unhealthy pattern. People begin to expect endless availability because no boundaries exist. What was once appreciated becomes taken for granted. The individual who cannot protect their own time unknowingly teaches others that their time has little value. Self-respect begins with understanding that your life has purpose beyond pleasing other people. Every hour you give away without intention is an hour you cannot invest in your own growth. Every compromise made against your values weakens your confidence a little more. This does not mean becoming selfish or refusing to help others. Genuine kindness is a strength, but kindness without boundaries often becomes self-neglect. The strongest individuals know how to be generous without sacrificing their dignity. They help because they choose to, not because they are afraid of rejection. There is a quiet confidence that comes from knowing your own worth. It is not arrogance, because arrogance constantly seeks to prove superiority. True confidence has no need for comparison. It understands that another person's success does not diminish your own. A confident person does not compete for attention in every conversation, or feel threatened by someone else's achievements. Instead, they remain focused on becoming a better version of themselves. This inner stability is deeply attractive because it creates an atmosphere of calm rather than insecurity. Many people become trapped in relationships where they constantly chase affection or approval. They believe that if they try harder, give more, or ignore repeated disrespect, things will eventually improve. Unfortunately, this often produces the opposite result. When someone realizes you are willing to tolerate anything simply to keep them in your life, they stop appreciating your presence. Respect begins to disappear because your standards have disappeared. The willingness to walk away from situations that repeatedly diminish your dignity is not weakness. It is one of the highest forms of self-respect. Walking away requires courage because it often means facing loneliness for a period of time. Many people remain in unhealthy friendships, toxic workplaces, or one-sided relationships because they fear being alone. Yet solitude is often healthier than constant disrespect. Time spent rebuilding yourself is never wasted. During those quiet moments, you discover your values, strengthen your character, and learn that your happiness cannot depend entirely on another person's opinion. Once you experience this independence, you stop accepting treatment that once seemed normal. Self-respect is reflected in the small decisions you make every day. It is waking up early to honor your commitments, even when no one is watching. It is keeping promises to yourself instead of breaking them for temporary comfort. It is refusing to gossip because your integrity matters more than fitting into a conversation. It is choosing discipline over excuses and growth over comfort. These habits may appear ordinary, but together they shape the kind of person you become. Character is built quietly, one decision at a time. Another important aspect of self-respect is learning to accept that not everyone will understand or approve of your choices. Some people will criticize your ambition because it reminds them of the dreams they abandoned. Others will misunderstand your boundaries and call them arrogance. Some will even distance themselves when you stop allowing them to take advantage of your kindness. These reactions should not discourage you. Every meaningful transformation changes the relationships around you. The people who genuinely value you will respect your growth instead of resisting it. One of the most attractive qualities a person can possess is consistency. Anyone can appear confident for a few hours or a few days, but someone who consistently behaves with integrity earns lasting admiration. Their words match their actions. Their promises become reliable. Their values remain steady, regardless of who is watching. This consistency creates trust, and trust is the foundation of every meaningful relationship. People are naturally drawn toward those whose character remains stable under pressure. There is also a deep sense of freedom that comes from no longer seeking permission to be yourself. You stop measuring your value through compliments, popularity, or social approval. Instead, you begin measuring success by your own standards. Did you remain true to your principles? Did you improve compared to yesterday? Did you treat others with fairness while protecting your own dignity? These questions create lasting confidence because their answers depend on your actions rather than someone else's opinion. The world often rewards those who respect themselves before asking others to respect them. People notice the individual who remains calm in difficult situations, who refuses to compromise their values for temporary acceptance, and who quietly pursues excellence without demanding recognition. Such a person does not need to announce their worth because it is visible in every decision they make. Their confidence comes from discipline, their influence comes from integrity, and their attraction comes from authenticity. Ultimately, self-respect is the beginning of every form of respect you will ever receive. When you value your own time, others begin to value it. When you protect your peace, others recognize your boundaries. When you remain loyal to your principles despite pressure, people trust your character. Attraction is not created by pretending to be important or by forcing others to admire you. It grows naturally from the quiet certainty that you know who you are, what you stand for, and what you will never sacrifice. That kind of confidence cannot be imitated, and it cannot be ignored.